Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza and Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. Super excited to be with you guys for episode 75 today. We are looking back on our biggest business regrets, which honestly is so funny that we're even doing an episode like this because I think Cami and I are very forward-minded people and we try to put things behind us and move away from it when we maybe feel like we messed something up or something went poorly or something went wrong. But we're doing this episode so that you guys can learn from us and our business journeys. So when we tell you what we've regretted in our businesses, maybe you can decide to take a different path or to do something differently or to embrace the thing that at the time you might think is stupid or not worth it. I don't know.
I know. I had the hardest time coming up with regrets for this episode because the only one I could think of was you know which one. And then I was like, okay, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, that was, and I was like, but I learned this from it. And I was like, I could not get out of the mindset of being like, but I learned from this. And I was like, okay, well then it's still a regret. We're just going to, anyway, it took me forever to figure out my regrets because I'm myth positive all the time, but I came up with some. So, and they're good, you guys, they're still good. So you'll be able to learn from them. But yeah, so I guess with us, regrets is truly more just here's what we learned from and we would have done slightly differently. But I feel like regret is such a strong word and I don't feel like I truly regret it, but things that we have learned from kind of
Yes,
thing.
For sure. Things that were I learned something from it, but maybe I would have done it differently.
Had I known.
Yeah, we could, which is why we can even apply the word regret, but it's all for the clicks, guys.
I know, regret is way better, but I was like, oh my God, I don't regret anything. The only thing I regret is in my personal life because Lord knows I needed to help them, but in my business, I'm like, yeah, that was a great learning experience. So
yeah.
My gosh. Okay, let's dive in. Oh no, let's get started.
Did it.
I did. I know. I fixed it.
Let us get started, y'all. I will go ahead and go first. One of my biggest regrets is not networking in person sooner. And I mean beyond just the standard rising tide meetings that I was going to on a monthly basis, basically just to make friends. That was the purpose of it, was just to make friends in the area because when I first moved to Georgia, I didn't know anybody, but I didn't go in with a really good networking mindset. And I think I've learned so much more about networking over the years that has really benefited me in different ways. And my whole stint with PowerCore. Oh, is that technically a regret? I don't know. Anyways. Could be, could not be. I don't know. I still got a really big client from it. But when I first moved to Georgia, I think my big mentality was oh, well, I might be moving eventually. I might be leaving Georgia. Once Will finishes school, we might get a job or he might get a job in a different state and we might end up moving. So I kind of bought into this lie or this belief of you don't need to put yourself out there in person or network in person because you're going to leave anyway, which was really the dumbest thing if you think about it. We were still trying to get plugged into church. We're still trying to get plugged in with friends. Why would I not be trying to get plugged in with the professional community and the wedding industry here in Atlanta at the same time? I think my wedding invitation business could have been even bigger and stronger if I had started to do this earlier. So that is kind of one of my regrets and not being more intentional about that.
That is a good one, actually. That's a good one because I feel that's something you could be look back on and be oh, if I had done this sooner, because relationships take time to grow. So I feel that's definitely a good example for sure. So guys, start networking right away. Don't wait till the time is right. Just got to do it.
Yeah, you just have to do it because it's I didn't know God's plans, and God's plans were for us to still live in Georgia. So I literally could have started networking and gotten all this traction and And I was doing this out of the fear of like leaving, and we didn't even end up leaving. So that's like the big irony of all of it.
I know, that is hilarious. And now, yeah. And also too, like you could have still, made a great relationship with those planners and still worked with them even if you lived in another state, like
Exactly, because I freaking work with clients all over the country anyways. So I don't know why this was like such a big like hold up for me in the first place, if that makes sense.
I know. Who knows? But you're networking now and you're staying in Georgia and it's all good.
It's all good, guys. We are freaking closing on a house next week.
Oh my gosh. I know. Well, but when this episode comes out, will you have closed on the house?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, yes. She'll be in the house, you guys. Oh my gosh. It's so exciting.
We will be in the middle of doing projects on the house. We will not have like moved in yet.
Yes.
But yes, the chaos, the all ensuing chaos will be happening at the time. But yeah, so that's my first regret. So Cami, what is your first regret?
Okay, my first one, which was obviously the one that came top of mind immediately when you said regret, was the website debacle, which I talked about on here, how I was getting a new website. I was super jazzed. We work with these really fancy high-end designers who work with people like Lindsay Letters and Emily Lay. And I was like, I am doing it. I'm taking the leap. And it turned out to be pretty much nothing because nothing ever really got done. And I just mostly regret paying more than what I needed to, which got me in trouble down the road because I'm an eager beaver. Like I only needed to pay, they only said I need to pay 25% up front, but I paid 50% up front because I was like, that's okay. I just want to get this process going and it's good for taxes at the end of the year. And that was so stupid. I wish I had just paid the 25% because when I asked for a refund, they only gave me 50% of my initial refund back instead. And if I had done the 25%, it would have been a lot more. So because I wouldn't have paid the second payment because nothing was being done. So that I really regret paying more than I should have in the initial booking. But overall, I don't necessarily regret booking them because it really forced me to refresh my branding without hiring anyone because I was like, gotta get all this done and look at things in a new way of how I wanted to present my brand so I could accurately articulate what I wanted to them in a way they could put it out there. So it made me just like get a better understanding of my brand and like streamline things and just like tighten up things, which was really nice. And I didn't have to hire anyone for my branding. I kind of redid it all myself. It's very subtle. No one even knows really. And then it just helped me get things checked off my website to-do list with my VA, like updating all my mock-up photos, which took a million years, but she did it all, and organizing my site navigation, all these things. So I was able to kind of get things buttoned up on my end, so I don't fully regret it. So I'm just like, you know what? That payment was just me paying no one to do these things, but that's the way I'm going to look at it.
Yeah, it's almost like the payment that you sent away to motivate yourself to do all of this stuff. It's like a weird way to think
money
that.
To motivate myself, but yeah.
So when you say that you paid, like I know that you paid that 50% up front when you only needed to put 25% down. Are you saying then that at the beginning of 2020, once you realized that like no other work was happening, like you probably would have asked for like a refund earlier, but because you had paid 50%, you were like, oh, I just like want to move forward with it? Or
oh no, I'm
trying to like understand how that would have changed what they gave back.
Okay, because in their design process, it's like this is due at this stage, but we never got to the stage where that second payment would have been made. So I wouldn't have necessarily have paid it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But would they have even given you any of the 25% back? Or is that what is considered like a non-refundable booking fee?
Probably have given half of that back is what I'm saying. I think we could have come to the agreement. They would have given 50% of that back. So
okay,
that's kind of what I think. Because we never really got past any of the stages. So I'm saying like, I wish I wouldn't have just given all that money up front. That was kind of like floating in the air to be like, okay, well, we're only going to get 50% back. But that 50% of that huge amount versus the smaller amount would have been, yeah, I think they would have given 50% of that back because we never made it to those stages.
Right, true. I mean, that's your like speculation, but I can see like the regret why that is a regret for sure.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll never know, but I can always be like, oh, okay, well, I gave them this much. And like, so I'm going to, I just regret giving them so much up front when nothing was actually done.
When nothing freaking happened.
Yeah.
If anything, it's like, I also know that they did give you that one opportunity early in 2020 to like back out and cancel everything. And I know you regret that too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
You were like, I should have taken them up on that, but I was like so deep in it at that point and like emotionally invested. And I was like, no, like, you know, like the eternal, like you just have like a lot of faith and trust in people, I think. And
yeah, and like they have such good accolades. Like it's not like it's someone random I found. Like, you know, I'm like, I see your work. I know who you worked with. Like I want that too. And so I was like, no, it's okay if we postpone it for 3 weeks, but it was not 3 weeks or whatever. It was like a million years. Because they were like, look, we know we've sucked and we haven't gotten anything done. We'd like to refund you the full amount. And I was like, no. And now I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, now that's actually what I regret more. You're right. I forgot about that. Oh, now you got me all fired up again.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Cami.
I'm like hopping on my chair right now.
Yes. It's a good thing for people to be able to like reflect on like gut feelings, I would say, in their own businesses, especially when they're hiring out work to someone else. Like the minute you have the gut feeling that it is not going like the right direction it's supposed to be, you got to lead into that and you have to listen to it. And it's like, yeah, you want to have like hope in people. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes like you got to protect your own booty.
I know. And the thing, I was like asking people to work with them. I'm like, what is the deal? And they're like, no, it's great. Just keep going. It's going to be fine. And now I'm like, dang it, I shouldn't have listened to that either. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Should have just followed my own womanly intuition. Not even womanly. Yes. Just normal intuition. Because I was like, no.
But you also learned something great too, because you had conversations with other creatives whose websites you loved, and you asked them questions. You know, you asked them the question of like, who built your website? And they told you, they were like, oh, we hire out like individual jobs for like small code things. Like
we'll have like, don't ever work with a designer. Just hire out individual things. And I was like, what's great? Why didn't I talk to you sooner?
Yeah, like, I'm talking isn't that to crazy? People. So for all of y'all out there who like maybe do use, I think this is a great lesson to share with people, that maybe you use Shopify and you're hoping to spruce up the code on the site a little bit, make it a little bit special. Maybe you want to change your menu design. Maybe you want to change your footer. Like you can go to places like, what did she say that she used to go like find
She said
people?
She used Fiverr actually, but what did I use? I'll have to figure out who I used for mine, because I just like found like this team of Shopify experts. You can just kind of like get connected with one of them and they do stuff for you. And I do not remember what it's called. I need to go like look at my email, see if I can find it.
Yeah, exactly. Like do something like that before you take the step to pump a ton of money into like a web redesign. Like I feel like I am honestly in the rare few that had a website design process, like a full web design process, goes so well, because I can't tell you how many times I have heard stories like yours, Cami, of people who like do a full web design with someone and it's really just like really bad or really awful. Like mainly like they might end up with a beautiful product, but the communication along the way is so bad that they're like, I don't even know if this is like
that's basically what the person who said like, oh, just outsource individual things. She's like, we've been burned by website designers so many times in the past. And I was like, good to know. So definitely they got a bad reputation. Oh, okay. I know who I went through now. I figured it out. So my theme on Shopify is made by a company called Out of the Sandbox, and they have different themes. And so they have like a support. You can go to there and then they'll hook you up with like a Shopify support expert, and you just kind of work with them and be like, here's what I want. And it was like $75 an hour. It was really cheap for what I needed, because it was like $75 for something. And I was like, honestly, that's all I wanted. So anyway, moving on. What's your other regret?
Well, we're going to take a quick break real quick, and then I will...
I forgot about the breaks.
Oh, you're fine. We're going to take a break real quick, and then I'll talk about my second regret.
Hey guys, you know we share a ton of free, helpful info here on the podcast, but if you're looking to go deeper, you need our Business Sense for Creatives bundle. This is our foundational resource. We share it all: our pricing strategies, marketing plans, our favorite print partners, real life examples of our invoices and workflows, and so much more. Literally, it is amazing. It really is the comprehensive guide for a money-making creative biz.
So with the bundle, you'll get access to our 3 webinar replays: Pricing with Purpose, How to Be Confident When It Comes to Charging Your Worth; People and Publicity, How to Find Clients and Deliver an Awesome Experience; and lastly, Productivity and Processes, How to Run Your Business Efficiently and Get Crap Done.
And not to mention, you'll also get our 3 bonus PDF party favors. What? We've heard from students that these are worth the price of it alone. So the party favors are pricing FAQs, the SEO cheat sheet, and a mini favorite vendors guide to get you started on where to print invitations.
So just to clarify, that is not only 3 awesome video recordings, but 3 bonus PDFs as well that support the content from the videos. So I think it's a pretty good deal.
Totally. It's the best deal out there. And you have lifetime access to it, which also adds to the whole value. So
woohoo! Don't take it from us though. Take it from the hundreds of students who have learned from the bundle and have said that these were the best, most real, and informative webinars that they've ever watched. We've seen students double their prices after watching these and totally skyrocket their businesses.
This is our roadmap of how we got to where we are today, so skip the mistakes and speed bumps, doing it the slow way, and let us put you on the fast track to running a creative biz like a boss and pricing for profit and not just pay.
And the best part, this resource is less than $100. Seriously, y'all, it's only $97 and it's so worth that price and much more. So go to bizbirthdaybash.com/bundle to purchase it today. All right, guys, I'm back going strong with my second regret in my business. And I don't know if this also is I would say it's like a 2020 regret. And part of it is we had so little control over so many aspects of 2020. But I really wanted to bring my wax seal designs in-house this year. And that just totally got derailed for me, mainly because the company that I wanted to use, who was China-based, I cannot get a hold of them, and I'm legit afraid something happened to them. I'm afraid they got sick. I'm afraid their business shut down or something crazy. I have no idea. And so I had this whole plan at the beginning of 2020 to bring my wax seal designs in-house because I'm still working with a third-party company who produces them and ships them for me. And it just did not happen. So that might have to go on the docket for 2021. But I'm I wish I could have devoted more time to that. But then I look at the scope of 2020 in general and just where I was in life, emotionally. And I'm okay, I know why it didn't happen, but that is one that I'm dang it.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what 2020 will bring? It's going to have all kinds of new opportunities. And so that could be the time, as the Thank You Society grows too, and you start to do more product stuff, could be the right time, So
I know. I was just so sad because I really liked this lady who I was talking to.
Yeah, I hope she's okay.
I know. And we were talking via DM and they had an Instagram page and everything. And I've followed up a couple times since and I have never heard anything back. And
super weird. Mom.
I know that's kind of heartbreaking for me because I freaking liked them and I wanted to give them my business, but it is what it is. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I still have time to do it.
Yeah. There's always in the future too. So maybe 2020 got their biz too. You know what I mean? Maybe they're just all right, we're at peace now for a little bit.
Yes, I know. Probably.
So, okay. One of my other regrets, I guess, would be not using paid advertising on Etsy sooner. I was always oh my goodness, I don't want to spend money on ads. I'll do it myself. But you guys, one thing I've definitely realized, especially in the product space, is that you have to spend money to make money. And also, I'm just going to have a disclaimer. I'm going to have an Elizabeth disclaimer that you have to be very, very smart about the money you're spending because it's not just oh, I spent it and now I'm going to make it back. It's not a guaranteed. So I just want us all to remember calculated risk. Risk management is very important, but you do have to spend money in order to grow a little bit. So, so paid advertising on Etsy, I started using 6 months ago, maybe. I started with you can do limits per day, a $10 a day budget or $5, $1 per day or whatever. And I think I did $1 per day at one point in my life, but that was nothing, obviously. That doesn't do anything. So I started doing $10 a day 6 months ago, just see how it goes. And I would monitor it every day to be okay, did I make more today from ads than spending on ads? And I was oh, okay. I quadrupled or tripled from just the ad spend. So I was okay, I'm going to keep doing that. And then 2 weeks ago, I was you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do $50 a day. And I was all right, we're just going to see what happens. And so I did $50 a day and the same thing. It tripled my ad spend every day just from that. Cause you can see when a sale comes through from an ad and you can also go to the ads manager on Etsy and it'll say like, oh, you spent this much today and you made this much today from your ads. So I literally check that every single day, and how every day has been, a really, really good positive in terms of ads. And I'm like, why was I not doing this sooner? Because another thing with Etsy too is like the more sales you get, the more reviews you get, everything just kind of snowballs. You keep building and building and building on Etsy. It just like starts to just come in tenfold, because Etsy like really prioritizes shops that have more sales and have more reviews. So everything ultimately leads to more and more sales. Like the more sales lead to more sales. I mean, I know that sounds stupid, but like it truly does. So I wish I was utilizing this paid advertising tool sooner to just kind of like get that traction going sooner. But a quick note on Etsy ads. I just have a little tangent. I just want to talk about it real quick. So Etsy ads, if you have no idea what they are, they're basically like pay per click. So you only pay when someone actually clicks the ad. And the amount of money for each of those click costs may fluctuate. So some listings are going to have like higher bidding prices, depending on if it's like a really popular item or keyword. And then you set your daily budget. So you can start small. You can start as small as you want. And then your max budget will increase as you spend more with Etsy. Like right now, my max budget that I can spend is $50, but I think it'll go up because I'm spending that every day now. And if you are a brand new baby Etsy shop, like under 6 months and have like 5 sales, I do not recommend using Etsy ads, because you're probably just going to end up paying more than you make. So I would recommend like waiting until you're a little bit more established, have some solid reviews, have a few solid sales, because you still want to get those clicks leading to conversions. So you're not just paying for clicks for people to come over and see your stuff. Like if you have one item, one review, and one sale, and you're paying for all these clicks, but you don't have any conversions, and you're just throwing away money on ads. So the good reviews and a history of sales are going to help actually convert those clicks. And you might have a few losses in the beginning of it, like, oh, I spent $10 today, but only made $8 or whatever from ads. So just keep that in mind. But overall, as long as you're coming out in the green at the end of the month, I think that's totally fine. But just definitely monitor it daily. So that's my little tangent on Etsy ads. And I wish I was using them sooner. That's my regret.
I really like that insight, actually, because I mean, I have been doing Etsy ads a little bit just because when I started my Etsy for Thank You Society, they basically prompted me to do that like immediately. But I have still definitely seen like results from it. I mean, I would say I'm like right about even right now with like the amount of sales I have gotten for the ornaments and the amount I have spent advertising for the ornaments. But I'm also okay with that because it does help me build like my shop presence, because when people come to my shop, they see I have more sales, they see I have more reviews. So to me, it's like okay with me to pay a little bit for that visibility aspect.
Yes.
To like build my shop in the beginning. So, but I'm just doing like $5 a day basically on just like 2 of my listings currently. I had it on a bunch of my listings, and then I just narrowed it down to like my enamel pin and my ornament, because I was like, okay, I feel like these are the ones that could do really well. So yeah, Etsy ads are they're interesting for sure.
Definitely interesting. Yeah, I feel like we could do a whole other episode talking about Etsy ads. So let's definitely table that.
Okay,
for later.
Cool. We'll come back to that later for sure. Okay, so my third business regret is probably not honing in on my weapon of choice sooner. So Cami and I used this phrase, weapon of choice, in the free webinar that we did a few weeks ago. And basically the idea here is that you choose one like social media platform or search platform or content platform, whatever it may be, and kind of stick with it. So at the beginning, I was trying to do like all the things when it came to content. I was trying to do my YouTube channel, my Instagram, trying to figure out Pinterest. I was blogging. I was like doing all the things. I was just like throwing, what's the saying where you just
throwing
like
spaghetti at the wall?
Throwing like paint at the barn wall, like just throwing it, hoping it'll stick.
That's kind of thing. The throwing. What is the phrase? I'm looking it up.
Look it up.
I think it's throwing spaghetti, but I like. Oh, it's throwing spaghetti at the wall. I like how you said throwing paint at the barn wall, because that's fun. We're just throwing paint at the barn wall.
And just like hoping it'll stick, but it's like literally, it's like instead of walking up with the paintbrush and like filling in the spots intentionally, I'm like standing 10 feet away, like flicking the paint at the wall, like hoping it'll line up and make sense somehow. Like that was honestly like my strategy with content. And I actually talked to like Davey and Krista on their podcast about content a little bit. And I talked about this, that I was like, I did not hone in enough at the beginning. I wish I had just kind of like picked one thing. And I mean, my biggest thing for sure was Instagram, but I know a lot of times I have said in other episodes, I look back on the time I spent towards Instagram and I don't even know if that was the right decision. And all the time that I spent dedicated like hours to like creating blog posts, I don't know if that was the right decision. So I don't know. I wish I could have just like picked one thing and stuck with it. And I'm not even sure that I know what that would have been, but I almost want to say like maybe if I was like actually really consistent with my email newsletter on like a weekly basis, like maybe that could have been like a difference maker for me. I don't know. Like I know that you can create content and you can disperse it on all of the platforms like equally. You can always change it and adapt it for different platforms in different ways. But I don't know. I just like wish I had stuck with one thing. And obviously like I ended up here where I am like with you guys in the podcast. And I would say like basically like the podcast and my Instagram account are like my weapons of choice now. Like I don't feel the need to like do a million other things. Like I don't even remember, my last blog post was probably earlier this year when I launched my new website, like I just haven't felt like the pressure or the need to do any of that because like just being a content generating machine like exhausts me. But I don't know if that's like really fully like a regret or just like a thought, but it is something I put on my list.
No, I think I totally understand where you're coming from for that. Cause like, I think one of mine would also be like not fully utilizing my email list sooner. Granted, I literally hated MailChimp. So I was like, didn't want to use like, if I don't like something, I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not using that. But then when I got Flowdesk, it became a lot more fun and easy for me and approachable. So yeah, I guess I do wish I would have like taken more control of that weapon of choice, because now it's like definitely a very important weapon in my quiver, you guys. you know? Like I've never was one that did like a ton of blog posts. Like I would do like one a year and be like, all right, I got one heavy hitter for you guys. Here you go. And that's it. Like, so yeah, I totally understand that. But I think that's good for people to think about too. Like pick which one you want to focus on. And maybe even thinking like ahead in the future, if you're like, oh, okay, I really want to like not have to be on social media as much, well then start like working on getting your email up to par now, because it just doesn't like start magically working overnight. It takes lots and lots of time and effort and putting in the work before it actually starts to have any sort of traction. So yeah, good thought for sure.
Good thoughts.
Good thoughts. My third regret is not being super clear with my editing and revision boundaries within my contract with earlier clients. This got me in trouble a lot. I feel like just like getting annoyed with clients when they're like, I want to change this and this. And I did not have my contract covering my butt before we made the custom stationery contract, which now covers your butt. My butt is fully covered, everybody. There was no full moons, but before it was like shenanigans, because I saw other industry leaders offering unlimited revisions for their stationery that I thought that was like industry standard and that I needed to do that too in order to be competitive or like, I don't know, be considered like a good high-end stationer because they're paying all this money. And I realized very quickly, like that is not going to work within my business model and what I do. So I wish I had taken control of that very early on and just like been confident in like holding up those boundaries and like knowing to charge more when someone wants something ridiculous. I'd just be like, oh, okay, whatever you want, you're the client, and like being scared of the client. And now it's just, a lot of that came from like at the beginning with like the scarcity mentality and like I have a people pleaser mentality. This is like a therapy session now. Oh my goodness. I have a people pleaser mentality. So like, just like wanting to do everything right for the client and give them a great experience. But I can't give the client a great experience if I'm having a horrible time and not being respected too. So when I was able to put those boundaries in place and have a contract that covered that and like fully articulate why I do the things I do, it just made everything so much easier and saves me time and money in the long run and mental health, because otherwise I lose my freaking mind, y'all, So I wish I had implemented those boundaries earlier.
Yeah. I think that is great for anybody to hear if they're in the early stages of their business, of just like learning to be able to stand up for themselves and their processes very early on. Like you don't have to have a year of being bullied by clients under your belt before you stand up for yourself. You can start doing it from the get-go.
Yeah, and it's going to make things a lot easier when you have the contract they signed to be like, well, I know, but this is what this clause says, and we're sticking to this, and just being like, well, I don't do that. And they're like, but why? I want you to. You're just like, I can't. I don't, like, if you have that contract to back you up, it's kind of like having like this big burly dude behind you that no one's going to mess with. You know what I mean? They're like, be like, yeah, well, okay, well, you got to talk to him first, and that's what it says, and you signed it. So, so it's a super, super important tool, which is why we made our custom stationery contract basically airtight and bulletproof, because we went through things and we want you guys to not go through things.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that resource too, do we have a special link for that? Is it like bizbirthdaybash.com/contract potentially?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go check that out if this is something that you don't want this to be your regret. So just get it so you don't have any regrets.
Yes, absolutely. Agreed. Okay, guys, we're going to take one more quick break, and then we'll be back after that with my final regret, unless Cami thinks of some more.
I'm done with my regrets.
Hey guys, we just wanted to hop in and talk about one of our amazing resources, the A to Z directory. All of us have thought at some point, how did she do that, or how did she make that? And maybe you don't know where to start or how the heck to produce this amazing product you've dreamt up.
Well, the A to Z directory is the missing puzzle piece in your biz, you guys, seriously. So it's built in the form of a yearly membership, and it's your one-stop shop for finding suppliers and vendors for all the things. Literally where to print everything from custom invitations, greeting cards, mugs, koozies, acrylic printing, letterpress, custom ribbon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it literally goes from A to Z. From acrylic printers to zipper pouches, we have it in the A to Z directory.
We want to help all of you search less and create more with this list of 300 plus vendors and suppliers. Don't worry, they're very organized. It's not going to be overwhelming and confusing when you join. And this membership also includes access to a private Facebook community. It's incredibly active and involved. And if you need a question answered fast, that is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, our Facebook group really is the best. You guys, everyone is so helpful in there. And we're in there too, answering questions you guys might have. So it's a great way to get access to us and ask us things without sliding into our DMs. So we're more likely to answer you in the Facebook group, just saying. Anyway, also in the Facebook group, this is new for 2020 and we're really excited about it. We are hosting monthly Power Hour Q&A sessions that are live, and these are only available to our A to Z directory members. So you can hop in with us live and ask us all your burning questions in real time and just hang out with us every month. And we do these at different times so you can actually be there live, and the replays are always available in the Facebook group for members.
This resource is priced at $147 a year, which honestly is extremely affordable and is full of so many benefits, such as exclusive vendor coupons for members only. And we would love to have you guys join. Seriously, it's kind of like our family and our tribe. So visit bizbirthdaybash.com/directory to sign up today and use coupon code podcast2020 to receive $20 off your first year. That's podcast, all caps, 2020 for $20 off your first year.
We can't wait to see you in the Facebook group.
All right, y'all, one final regret here for me, Elizabeth. This is a really funny one that all of a sudden, like while I was thinking about it this week, I kind of got the rose tinted goggles, you know what I'm saying? Where I was like looking back and I was like, oh, like, I think I like regret not keeping up with my YouTube channel. And I know that that's like so random and weird because I was just talking about like honing in and picking your weapon of choice and like figuring this out. But I think when I was like sitting here thinking about it, I was like, if I had been releasing like a YouTube video, even if it was like one YouTube video a week that was like a how-to for artists or a how-to for calligraphy or tutorial or something like that, I was like, I kind of stopped doing my channel in like 2017. I was like, I could have had so much freaking content on there that I had been like using to like push people towards like honestly Biz Birthday Bash, because I don't really even offer resources through Eliza Ann anymore. But it was like, it still could have been something that I like kept doing like on the side to make revenue from YouTube. And I know that that's like so silly to be saying now, but I was like, oh, I'm kind of like sad that I stopped doing that. I don't know. Is that silly? Am I contradicting myself with my number 3?
No, I don't think so. I think you just like realized you wanted YouTube to be your weapon of choice and you're sad you dropped off on it, but it could still be your weapon of choice if you decided to use it.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true. Like I can
You
always
could totally bring it back up again, you
I could
know?
always pick it up again for sure. I think I would just have to find some sort of like new purpose for it or something, or I would have to figure out what I even would want to be like freaking talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, do you think that's something you would like want to do maybe in 2021? Like just try to like revamp that and see what happens?
Maybe. I don't know. I think I kind of need to
Yeah.
like think on that a little bit because I feel like we've really like honed in our strategy for Biz Birthday Bash a lot. Like we know how much time goes towards recording these episodes and we know that we're able to batch them and get a lot out of the way all at once and then we kind of have our, like our quarterly meetings to track what else is going on. But I'm like, I don't know, that could be like really fun for me to reintroduce something like that like back into my life. Like maybe that becomes my other fun thing that I just like do. Maybe it's not even really for business, but I just do it.
Yeah, just for fun. Like you even talked about doing a podcast about plants one time. Maybe it could be the YouTube channel about plants.
Yes, that is still
Yes.
potentially like an idea that I would love to do. This is the
Yeah,
thing is
so-
it's like I really have to pick my battles between Thank You Society, Eliza Ann, and Biz Birthday Bash. Like what am I doing on what days? How am I spending my time? All of this good stuff. And some like other top secret projects in the works as well. So I'm like, oh, I don't even, maybe my regret is just like not having time for it.
Well, that's everyone's regret. I'm like, why are there not 48 hours in one day? I don't know.
Yes, exactly. So,
oh my gosh.
anyhow, that's my other weird one. If any of you guys listening are some of the people who ever watched my YouTube channel and you feel like I should like revamp it and bring it back to life, please DM me privately to let me know that that is your sentiment and that you feel that way. Because I would be a lot more likely to do it if people are like, we actually want to hear from you, So
I think people really do want to hear from you. I think people miss you and like hearing all the things you taught, not just from like a Biz Birthday Bash perspective, but just like from your own perspective too. So I think people are going to be super jazzed about it, whatever you decide to do.
Well,
100%.
thanks.
So people love you. They miss you. They miss seeing your pretty face on stories all the time. So you can be like, guys, just go to my YouTube channel.
Because that could be true. Because then I could just be like, here's the swipe up for like my newest YouTube video and like not have to actually do like Instagram stories and stuff like that. Because if I'm gonna make content and talk about something, like I might as well do it on a platform that I can actually like generate revenue from. So
exactly. I just feel like that's more your speed anyway. Like you really enjoy doing like video editing and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you could rock it for sure. Oh, I'm excited for 2021. We can talk about what you can do.
Sounds good. We will brainstorm for that. Anyways, guys, that kind of wraps up our biggest business regrets. Hopefully you were able to learn something from everything that we shared today. And yeah, I don't know. Anything else to add, Cami?
I just want to say no regrets.
You're so weird.
That's all I have to say. Hopefully, I know. You guys, you know what I'm talking about? Like the tattoo. Okay, anyway. Thanks, guys, for listening to another ridiculous episode of the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. And we will see you next week. And definitely go send Elizabeth a million DMs and be like, we want to see your face on, or not Instagram, on YouTube. Okay? All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Love you. Goodbye.